My experience at Dr. Tiller's clinic for the week I was there was physically the closest thing to hell on earth I have ever experienced. He gave me no anesthesia at all and the whole experience was so painful, but the day of my labor and delivery was the worst thing anyone has ever done to me. On that day, me and the 7 other girls in my group went into the basement, and we were given hospital gowns to change into. Then we were taken to our beds, which were all lined up in a row. Then, the nurses went down the line. They put 2 IVs into me, one in my hand, and the other kind of at the side of my wrist. At that point, they gave me something, I think Pitocin, but I don't actually remember, to induce my labor, and I felt like I was dying. It hurt so much, and they told me to try, and laid with my knees as close to my chest as possible, and that would help with the contractions. It didn't. After I had laid there like that for a while, I really felt like I had to pee. I told the nurse, and she said that I didn't have to, that it was just my water. I insisted that she take me to the bathroom, and she did. Then she said that it was time for me to go and see the doctor. I was taken in the operating room, put in the stirrups, and the nurse stayed there to hold my hand. He took his curved scissor, and broke my water. Somehow my water came back onto me, and soaked my gown. He told the nurse to change my gown. I told him that I didn't care that it was wet, I just really wanted a painkiller. He said that they do care, and they were going to change my gown. So after the nurse did that, he took his entire hand, and pushed it inside of me to do something to the baby, to turn him feet first, I presume, and I have never felt anything like that in my life. Then he took a bigger scissors, and did something else inside of me. I was crying. He told me not to scream because I would scare the other girls, his first trimester patients. Then, he took the forceps, and did something to me with them. At that point, I had just given up. I thought I was dying, and I was told just to stay quiet. Then, he said that I was not dilated enough and he sent me back to my bed. He told me not to push until he told me to. I lay there for what seemed like forever, and my body just started pushing. At that point, the nurse took me into the bathroom, and she laid a blue covering over the toilet, and she told me to start pushing as hard as I could, and on my last push, they gave me something that totally knocked me out. I woke up in my bed, and I remember not being in that awful pain. I looked behind me and I saw a chart. I picked it up and it was the information on my baby. That's how I found out that he was a boy. The nurse grabbed my chart away from me, and told me that I wasn't allowed to see that. Then, I had to go back in and see the doctor again. I was so sore, and he took the speculum, which almost sent me through the roof in pain. He suctioned something out, and sent me back to my bed to rest. That was the worst day of my life. The days preceding that were bad. When he gave me the shot to stop the baby's heart on the first day, it hurt, and I jumped. He told me that I had better stay still, or he would miss, and then he'd just have to do it again. The laminaria hurt, and I writhed around during all of those insertions and extractions. I was told once again to remain still, because if I didn't, it would hurt more. I was only 16, and I had never even had an exam before. Tiller had the nerve to tell me, and the other girls in my group, that having our late-term abortions were 40x safer than actual childbirth. That is a complete lie. I have cervical scarring from his repeated insertions of laminaria to dilate my cervix unnaturally for his safe procedure, as well as cervical incompetence that required me to have a cerclage, a stitch that keeps your cervix from dilating, put in to carry my current pregnancy to term. When I had my abortion at Tiller's clinic, he made everyone in my group, myself included, sign a paper, saying that if we had any complications at all, we were under no circumstance to go to the hospital. We were to call only him. I had my abortion at about 28 weeks, and he gave me no anesthesia, but loaded me up on antibiotics. I also want to add that my group was all late-term elective patients, who were 30 or more weeks pregnant, and I was the only girl who indicated that a rape had taken place, and I was a minor. Tiller did nothing to help me prosecute the crime. He just killed my baby, thus destroying the evidence. I am ashamed that I have tirelessly defended a man who subjected me to so much pain. I told my friend that story, and she said that it was the most inhumane, horrific story of abortion she's ever heard. Do I have to go to a church to ask God to forgive me? If I have to, what type of church? I cry for my son every day, and I have said repeatedly that I would not have another abortion.